Most important part on the intro, how much chest hair are we thinking we need to show?
Oh yeah, I could probably match you there.
Okay, we're going full.
Yeah, let's rock it.
Cool.
Let's rock it. Super cash.
Can I get chest hair and the hunky merman? So you've played the original Dead Rising and the remake, and I have only played the remake as a new game and did a review of it.
Yes, and I was interested to hear your perspective because that game I would not describe as particularly kind to new players.
And that's part of what I'm hearing about the remaster in a point in its favor is that it is more forgiving to new players. So, what was so difficult about the original?
Well, I certainly had an easier time playing the remaster.
Yeah.
But then I assume that was just because I knew everything.
I knew definitely that too.
As soon as you leave the safe room, go to the coffee shop, load up an orange juice, jump off the balcony onto the little awning where there's a secret katana, take that, go do the clown boss fight, and then have infinite mini chainsaws for the rest of the game. But yeah, with everything else, it seems like they've done a lot to make the game easier. They've added autosaves.
Which I appreciate. I died quite a few times.
Frank's special moves, like the dodge roll, is now a lot easier to pull off. I think the dodge roll is just one button now. It used to need you just had to click the analog stick twice.
Who was that's good design?
And I remember you saying that the deadlines for the missions have been extended.
That's what I've heard.
Because that was always one of the big selling points and unique qualities of Dead Rising was that you've got 72 hours before the rescue, and if you don't get to the mission within the allotted time, then that's it.
Yeah, I have heard that was extended. I don't know if that's true. I felt a good amount of pressure, oh no, I am scared I'm going to miss something important. But I was able to do a lot in that time. I do suspect that the time starts as a big old bar and goes, watch out, here it goes. It's in the red now. It's really in the red. And that as it gets lower, your actual time isn't as quickly moving anymore to heighten it.
That's a classic technique. I think Undertale did that with your health in the mutant Flowey boss fight. The first hit you take takes a huge chunk, and by the end of it, it's 1 pixel at a time. It doesn't surprise me to hear there's been some backlash by purists against the remaster if it's has been nerfed to be easier. Always, yeah. I think when it first came out, it was sort of like the Dark Souls of its time in that it was high difficulty, partly intentionally, partly just because it was jankily designed.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of people took being able to play through it regardless as a sort of badge of honor, and now they're probably butthurt that everyone can get the same participation trophy without having to put the same effort in.
Which I don't understand that argument. Now you've just basically created a separate classification of your run of there's the original style and the modern style, and I don't know why some people view that as a bad thing. There's a hard, medium, easy mode on games, and it's cool, play the one you want to play.
Same reason people complain about easy modes in Dark Souls, I suppose. Why should everyone else get the same prize? It's political correctness gone mad.
But that's not the same prize. The idea of beating a game on a set difficulty is a different mentality and a different goal than beating it on a different difficulty.
Well, the other argument is that the game was sort of designed around being unfair. That's the whole reason you can restart the game at any point with all your levels and progress intact. The idea was it was a game about learning, figuring out the best places to go for the best weapons, and then going back in with all that knowledge once you feel like you've messed around enough. To sort of emphasize both the difficulty and the sandboxy nature of them all.
Which I do like, that I agree, it had that feeling of learning, of I'm going in, I'm gotta figure out, I know katanas are here, I know chainsaw boss is here, I know books are in the bookstore. That's good. I felt like the game was too repetitive for that though. I learned it and then I utilized it, and then the game went, cool, now keep doing it. And it just ran out of steam for me after 5-6 hours.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like I said, basically every time I left the safe room, straight to the coffee shop, orange juice, katana. And I do think Dead Rising as a formula was sort of perfected in Dead Rising 2 when they added combo weapons. because then there was more to explore. The process of becoming really good at attacking zombies doesn't begin and end with, hey, here's where the chainsaws spawn.
That is what it felt like. And I did not realize until after I was already playing for a while that, this isn't where combo weapons came from. I thought that had been in Dead Rising since this game.
Credit to Dead Rising, a lot of what's unique about Dead Rising was intact right out of the gate. The 72 hours thing, the timed missions, the psychopath boss fights all being quirky weirdos, and the good old-fashioned gonzo splatfest zombie killing fun. But I think, there's Dead Rising 1 certainly feels limited in retrospect, and it does feel weird to remaster it, bearing that in mind.
The game, some of the gameplay, the simplification makes sense. Of auto saving, awesome, very glad it's there. I think I've heard people talk about the AI is better in the survivors.
Like that was part of the badge of honor for having beaten the original game in its original context, because the AI of the survivors was legendarily bad.
But see, for the badge of honor, I feel like that's not intended. That is we didn't have the technology or knowledge or time to get them to work like we wanted them to. And that was just, well, it's this or nothing.
The original Dead Rising, it's very old, and there's a lot of nostalgia for it, partly, I think, because of its slight jankiness. It was ahead of its time in a lot of ways. It was the first real HD 360 game that really made the most of being an HD game, where you could say, this absolutely could not have been played on a PS2.
Totally. At that time, it was about a year in, I think, to the launch, and there were still some of those like, oh, Hitman Blood Money is on PS2 and 360, and like this game, and you're like, is it really that much better? Where Dead Rising was absolutely one of those games that was like, you can't do this. And that
it was the future.
It was. But also made it feel a bit like a tech demo when I would watch a friend play it.
Well, maybe this is nostalgia talking, but I always felt that was part of the charm. It's feeling a bit janky, like student filmmaking.
Fair.
As I say, the formula was perfected in later games, so it's weird to remaster it at this point when, frankly, just having the version on Steam that was already there was perfectly enough for me. How do you feel about those flash visuals? 'Cause I remember the first time I saw like a comparison screenshot, like just casually on social media somewhere, I thought it was AI art. I thought someone had used AI to make an original Dead Rising screenshot look nicer, but no, they just added a load of HD textures to the actual game, and it always looks a little off-putting to me. The way they always have to add so many skin pores. I'm pretty sure they took the HD models and they just pasted them on top of the original animation from the original game, and it just looks weird to me. Uncanny Valley-ish. Like everyone's wearing mascot costumes.
I do think that is prior knowledge coming in, because I did not feel that way about them. If I was comparing it to a thing I was familiar with, I'd probably look the same way. But just looking at it as is, it looked fine. I mean, it's not as good as like RE8, I don't think. But it's also supposed to be a little more cartoony. And you have to lower the fidelity compared to some of those other RE Engine games because of the amount of assets on screen.
Well, the fact that it's cartoony is why ultra-realistic skin texture feels really off-putting, I suppose. It's like that one Photoshop of Mario I always bring up in these... when I'm talking about this sort of thing, where it's Mario with realistic skin.
If you want to see weird high-def textures on cartoony, you can get the Liquor from RE2 as a costume in the DLC, and boy, that's got a lot of details to it, and
I'll bet.
It's gross. So voices... I know people have been complaining about it. I thought, again, I don't have any reference to the old one. I thought the new ones were fine, but I didn't think the material of the story really gave them much to work with. And I don't know what could have been better.
I didn't really notice that the voices have been changed in the cutscenes. I know they had to add new voices because they were voicing all the in-game lines, not just the cutscenes. Because in the original, it was just the cutscenes that had voice acting. All the in-game stuff was just text. So I guess they had to redo all the voices to allow for that. But yeah, it wasn't like a Silent Hill 2 thing where the unique voice acting sort of gave it a unique sort of sense to it that I would complain about after they redubbed it for the HD version. Of course, the other thing that I suspect people are getting up their arse about is that there have been a number of changes to making the game more politically correct. Did you know about this?
I've heard a few things about it, yeah.
And most notably, there's an entire mechanic with the photo taking. Like, you know how you take photos and you get points for horror and for action and for outtakes, depending on what you manage to capture? There used to be a whole extra category for erotica, which would give you points if you took pictures down the cleavages of ladies or up their skirts. And they've just stripped that completely out. And the other thing they did was there's a boss fight towards the end that's against a butcher who in the original game was very obviously Chinese. He was a Chinese dude with a very overt Chinese accent. And then in the remaster, he's been just replaced with a generic, large American white dude.
That was the correct move to remove that. That was probably the best move.
Well, you know, I think this sort of thing has a place in historical context. I'm not big on the whole Star Wars extended edition, fiddling around, rewriting history revision sort of practice.
I think
That's just me.
I understand the changing the character. Totally understand that. Probably the best move. The removing erotica, I feel like, is so obviously sexist. Like, if you take a picture of a male butt, it's probably not going to give you the same thing. That it was like,
It feels weird to take out erotica as a gameplay mechanic, but keep in the one character whose only job is to hang around in the safe room being useless with her tits hanging out.
I don't think I rescued her. Who's that?
No, she's a story character. Jesse, the one you meet in the safe room who just sits in the security room watching the monitors.
She's not useless. She calls HQ, which, spoilers, then murders everybody. And then she turns into a zombie and kills them.
That's literally the only thing she does, yeah.
You say that, but like, honestly, I felt more for her character than any of the survivors I rescued and most of the other main cast that I got to talk to a lot more.
So yeah, they've literally changed like elements of the game design.
I think changing it isn't a bad choice. I don't think there is a right way to try and right or wrong, that you're something that you think won't fly or that you think doesn't work anymore, or you think, you know what, I made a bad joke and I don't want to make that joke again.
I like the approach old cartoons take when they have to depict someone in blackface or Speedy Gonzales or something, where they just put a disclaimer at the start saying, hey, we know this is going to make us look bad. You know, this was made at a different time. We're sorry, but we don't want to like erase it because then we'd be tacitly like erasing history and pretending these problems never existed. So we're going to keep it. We're just going to make sure we're all clear that this isn't okay. Okay.
See, and I think making it clear that it's not okay, definitely a way to go. And that's kind of where I think of like, there's no correct way. Like, I think just like the mistakes themselves, there's a different way to address them and how you can best fix them. I think just straight up making those changes might have been the easiest and best way of, we don't want to make this same mistake, and here's how we could do it.
I just want to double check and make sure that the original is still available on Steam.
Oh shoot, that's actually really good.
Because
that's what Grand Theft Auto did. They were like, oh yeah, you can't buy the originals. You can only do the remasters, and the remasters were completely borked.
Yeah, I remember fucking Bulletstorm did that as well. The original, when they brought out the remake, the original one was available.
I didn't know they remade Bulletstorm.
It looks like original Dead Rising is still available to buy on Steam for only $10 for a more challenging and interesting game with tits in it.
So, modern gameplay changes, making it easier for new players to get into and not get frustrated with it.
Was it
Auto did.
a lot easier? Was it quite easy? Because I think it would be still harder than a lot of modern games, because it is pretty obtuse. Like, it's pretty easy to just get grabbed by 4 zombies and die within the first half hour of trying.
I would say that part is easy. Or that it is easy to die, yes. But after when I started my second run, and then you keep all your level ups and stuff into the next run, it was still tense, but it was easier. I also found a few exploits.
Everybody does, yes.
Yeah, which
there's a lot of jank.
Pro tip for people: if you're carrying a survivor on your back, your hitbox almost disappears, so you can run through zombies.
That is a technique frequently used in like 100% perfect runs.
That's wild they didn't fix that.
But well done for finding it by yourself.
I don't think it was too difficult. I think it was a good. Oh, hi, Toffee.
I'm getting a sense that something's sneaking up on me.
Oh, you better watch out. There's a zombie dog behind you.
Oh, no. Perhaps if I hold very still, he won't notice me.
But I do what you were mentioning about it's a game about learning. And that, that some of that is very helpful. And, I know where these items are. Oh, I know how to deal with this. And then you have a little more forgiveness as you play, as you take more pictures, as you kill more zombies. So now you are able to make more mistakes. So I felt like after a few hours, it stopped being such an issue. And I liked that it was more hands-off.
Well, the thing about learning game is that you can only learn once.
Yeah, which is part of where my problem with the repetition happened after about 5 or 6 hours, where I was like, I've learned. And then there wasn't really much else to learn. And I was just kind of redoing the same steps over and over.
So on the whole, yeah, it's fine, but maybe play Dead Rising 2.
Is that good? Do we think that's a satisfying end? Do we need to end on a tropical joke?
I'm sure some kind of decent ending will cut together out of it. If not, we could just go, what do you think, Toffee? Well, I think that says it all.